Well, the Dead Space remake came out and it's a great game. Hell, even Sean Carpenter thinks so. Before I start talking about it though, I wanna say this will be a spoiler-filled video about the remake. I'll talk about the things I loved, the things I liked, and a few things I didn't really like. What will be my short spoiler-free thoughts? The remake is amazing and you should definitely check it out. It is worth full price and is great for new and returning players. Now, with that out of the way, let's start talking about the one thing that has gotten the biggest upgrade, and that's graphics. The remake looks amazing. You know how you sometimes think back to games you have played before, especially when you think about older games you played when you were a kid or like some of the first games you have ever played? Whatever the case may be, when you remember them, you think to yourself, man, what a good game. It looked and played great. I should really play it again sometime. But then, when you go and check it out again, the game is like... Well, Dead Space Remake is how we remember Dead Space looking. I'll talk about it obviously, but playing this section is enough to show you guys how good the game looks. The original game has aged well for sure, but I feel there are some areas that could be improved upon, both in terms of graphics and gameplay. Parts of the map have been changed for the remake, but they are still recognizable as the same ones from the original game. The biggest change to how a section looks and plays are the turret sections. Instead of sitting down and shooting, you now go out in zero gravity to set turrets to shoot meteors or use them with your normal aiming to shoot stuff yourself. The Ishimura also feels super big now, thanks to the way you get to see down the path the tram travels, which is a very long path, and the fact that you can walk from section to section instead of taking the tram. Everything feels more connected now instead of the tram being just a loading screen in between chapters. One other big visual change we get to the game is the gore. Most weapons still pack the same punch as the ones in the original do, but they feel way stronger now with the way the necromorphs get obliterated by them. Necromorphs are now sort of layered. When shooting at them, you get to go through skin, muscle, and bone. You get to tear them apart now. The best weapon to use to see this effect is the force gun. You straight up rip the meat of their bones.
Signal again. We gotta find that beacon, Isaac. Fast.
I could keep going on and on about the details, such as how you get ice on your suit when you go to space and you get to see it melt off your suit after a while, or how necromorphs have different uniforms according to the area you're currently in. But I will stop for now so we can move on to talk about gameplay. Gameplay-wise, a good way to describe most of the changes would be asking you to go and play Dead Space 2. This game feels like a mixture of Dead Space 1 and 2, taking a lot of gameplay elements from the second one. And considering the deluxe edition of the game comes with Dead Space 2, I think EA feels the same way. Outside of the turret sections that I mentioned before, the other thing that gets a big change in the game are the zero gravity sections. Instead of just pointing and jumping, you get to fly around in the air like you do in Dead Space 2. Some other changes are the way you traverse the Ishimura, how weapon upgrades work, changes that weapons have gotten, and electricity switches, amongst other tiny things. Let's go in order and start with the security clearance levels. Before, you got to open doors by saving power nodes that you would use to get more loot. Now, that has been replaced with security levels. There's 3 of them that you unlock, and you get them as you progress through the game. Sometimes you might run into a door that is a security level 3, but you only unlock level 2, so if you want everything out of an area, you'll have to come back to get it. It's usually just more loot, but some of them have items to unlock a secret ending behind them, so backtracking is encouraged and rewarded. The one thing that gets the most changes are weapons and their upgrades. All of them do get changes except the plasma cutter. Why does the plasma cutter not get changed? Well, because it is already perfect, that's why. Let's go through the other weapons to see how they got changed. The pulse rifle seems to change every game, so now it does again. RIP to crouch, spray and pray. You were a mess, but you shall be missed. Now we get a proximity mine that I think 90% of players are gonna use like a grenade launcher. The line gun got a laser tripwire. The fun part is that you can attach it to movable objects and run around using it as a weapon. It doesn't cost any ammunition to keep and it's super fun to use, so turn anything into a murder weapon. The contact beam's old primary fire is now its secondary fire, with the primary being, well, a beam. This is my favorite weapon of the remake by far. Shooting it is a delight, especially with the way the weapon sounds while being fired. The flamethrower gets a wall of fire as a secondary instead of the burst of flame that we had before. Also, the flamethrower feels great to use. Burning necromorphs is fun and very strong. Fire burns, and you can tell. The Ripper's secondary fire shoots out a blade that when upgraded can bounce up to 4 times with some sort of targeting onto enemies. It's basically like shooting a miniature Captain America shield. Be careful, since you can also get hit by them. Although the damage is like 1% of your total health, so it's not really a big deal. And at last, but certainly not least, the Force Gun. This weapon still packs a punch, and, like I said, you get to blow the meat off of necromorph bones. Secondary fire has been turned into a small electrifying black hole. You can still get through the game with just a plasma cutter. The achievement is still there, but you do miss out by not using the other weapons at your disposal. You even get to have all of them in your inventory at the same time if you want. Although they do take an inventory slot and you can only have 4 equipped at a time. Weapon aiming, like many things, feels like Dead Space 2. You don't exactly get the laser in the middle of the screen like in the original, it is more like using classic aiming in the sequel. Not bad by any means, but different. And at last, the other change the weapons get are the upgrades. You can buy and find upgrades for the weapon that unlock more upgrade slots as well as a special power for the weapon. Most weapons just get the secondary fire to be better, like the wall of fire lasting longer or the black hole lasting longer too. But the main character of the weapons, the plasma cutter, gets a very cool upgrade. You get damage over time on your shots, as well as a powerful punch that sends the enemies flying. Very happy to see the plasma cutter remain the same, but you can still make it better so it doesn't feel left out with the upgrades. The last noteworthy change to gameplay I want to talk about is that in some areas you will find electricity switches that you can change where power goes. You might need to switch the power to open a door you need to get through, but will you turn off the lights and stay in the dark? Or will you turn off the oxygen and have a timer counting you down as you fight or traverse the area? Okay, now let's move on to the story changes, where I feel the most changes come into play. Let's start with the biggest change, Isaac himself. He's a way better character now because of the simple fact that he gets to speak. This does great things for his character since I always felt like Isaac in the first game is barely a character considering he doesn't speak and that he's just a vessel for the player. Isaac gets to have a lot more initiative in the remake, usually being the one to come up with the solutions to issues that he, Kendra, and Hammond run into. Isaac is an engineer and it shows.
Good call on the stabilizer, Isaac.
Rather always read the manual.
Seeing you in the control room. Any news on the engines?
Yeah, but it makes no sense. They're out of fuel. The centrifuge is offline. We're tethered to a 4 trillion ton payload. Without the engines, it's dragging us down to the planet.
Can you handle it alone?
Sure, fix the centrifuge, get the fuel running, then do a full restart. But you'll need the stabilizer orbit from there.
Standing by. Fast as you can, Isaac.
However, this comes with the disadvantage that now Kendra and Hammond need to get changed up a bit since they are not the ones giving the solutions to problems. Hammond gets what I would say is a goodish arc with Chen. Chen turns into a necromorph, chases Hammond around, gets ejected, causes the USM Valor to crash into the Shimura, and then Hammond gets killed by Chen. This is a good idea, but Hammond does sort of feel to be very obsessed with Chen, and his character just devolves into showing us what unitologists are doing one time, and then Chen. The ideas for Hammond are great, I just feel they could have been executed a tiny bit better.
Chen?
Getting to see the horror of someone you know turn into a necromorph firsthand is great, but I don't think this should have been all of Hammond's character. Hi, Editor Shan here. Something I wanna say about Hammond. I played through the whole game to record footage for this video, and I wanna say that Hammond's character isn't just worrying about Chen, but because Isaac is a more active character now, Hammond doesn't get to be the leader of the mission as much. So no, his character isn't just worrying about Chen, but it is a big part of it. The fact that Chen was the most memorable part about Hammond's character before I replayed it speaks volumes in my opinion. Okay, back to the video. The two big winners for character development outside of Isaac are Nicole and Mercer. You get to see Nicole experience the outbreak aboard the Shimura, and the way they have changed her is great. Nicole was supposed to be the senior medical officer in the original, but she feels more like a medical student in that one. Seeing Nicole try to save people during the outbreak and failing makes the situation all the more desperate and hopeless, making the final decision she makes all the more impactful.
I always loved you.
You also get to see that their relationship with Isaac was in a bad spot. The last time they talked, Isaac blamed the death of his parents on Nicole. Isaac isn't just going back to save her, he needs to make things right.
Isaac. Sorry, late shift. How are you?
My mother, she's,
Octavia? How's she doing?
she's dead, Nicole. They both are. She killed my dad, then herself.
Oh.
Yeah. The church. They, took the bodies before I could,
Oh my god. Oh, Isaac, I'm so sorry. Fucking unitology brainwashing.
Stop it. Just stop talking. You said she was herself again. You said she would be better at home. I trusted you. God. You might as well have killed him yourself.
She was better. You told me to leave for the Ishimura. You pushed me to... You know what? Go to hell, Isaac.
Nicole. Nicole! Nicole! I didn't... Oh, God. No. Not her, too.
Isaac. It's me. I wish I could talk to you.
She wanted to talk. I didn't.
Sorry.
I can make it right.
Sorry
I can save us both.
about everything.
You also get to hear the call from the beginning of Dead Space 2. So you know Isaac was the one that told Nicole to take that job aboard the Shimura. So this is basically Isaac having double guilt weighing down on him.
Nicole?
Oh, God. I'm so sorry, Isaac. Look at the time difference. I'll call you back later.
It's okay. How you doing?
Good. You were right, Isaac. The Ishimura is a great ship. I'm so lucky to be serving aboard her.
We'll enjoy it while it lasts. You know they're gonna decommission her next year.
Isaac, thank you
For what?
for just pushing me to do this. I mean, if it weren't for you, I never would have made it this far because you made me stick with it.
Well, just remember, I'm giving you up for 6 months so you can do this.
You know what? We must be getting out of range of the
I miss you,
relay.
Nikki.
Isaac?
Nick?
Isaac, can you hear me?
Nicole?
I'm gonna call you back as soon as I can, okay?
Nicole?
Isaac?
Hey, can you hear me? Hello, Nikki. Great.
Mercer gets the bronze medal when it comes to characters that are way better in the remake. He's smarter and creepier than before, knowing way more about the marker, and you can tell. You also get to see him make the hunter, as well as who the hunter is and what he did before turning.
Shipwide transmission override. Isaac Clarke.
Just a trick.
Isaac. Isaac. Make us
Isaac Clarke. All right. Dr. Brennan's nearest and dearest. We were colleagues, you know. Dr. Chalice. Mercer. Are you the reason the marker won't begin? That's it. Convergence is installed. She's meddling. How is the question? But even if I was to ask, I suspect you're not the talkative type. And I haven't fully explored the cause of death as that missing factor. Dismemberment. Now, I think we're on the right track there. Try and relax, Mr. Clarke. Convergence is so close. Maybe your death will tip the balance.
This stuff I talked about with Nicole and Mercer are included in side missions that have been added to the game. You can still go through the main story without doing them, but you do get so much out of them, I even redid them on my New Game Plus playthrough. As for the other characters, well, they aren't bad, but they aren't winners like this too. Kendra has been more humanized, still leaving Isaac aboard the Shimura, but saying this.
For what it's worth, we made a great team. You'll find another way off the Ishimura. I mean, you're one hell of an engineer.
Your experiment's gonna kill us all! Daniels!
The one issue I have with Kendra though is that she acts way too suspicious. It might be me knowing what will happen like the palm of my hand, but I don't know. That's how it felt to me, so I feel I should mention it here. One other thing that gets more development is the relationship between Jacob Temple and Elizabeth Cross, two members of the crew of Ishimura. You follow Jacob through audio and text logs, and you get to see his end at the hands of Mercer. You also run into Elizabeth to help kill the Leviathan and save the ship from running out of oxygen before it's too late. Elizabeth even comes back at the end to be revealed as the person behind the Nicole hallucination. Not behind it like she's the one making Isaac have the hallucinations, but the marker is controlling you both, making Isaac see Elizabeth as Nicole, and Elizabeth seeing Isaac as Jacob. Kyne is, in my opinion, the one character that gets changed for the worst, and this is where I get to the acting of the game. The acting is great. Gunnar Wright, Tanya Clark, Anthony Alavi, Brigitte Cali Canales, everyone here gives a good performance. Problem is that most of the characters act way more calmly than before, and Kyne gets it the worst.
Here.
In the original, when you see him, he's super twitchy and weird. In the remake, he's just a chill guy. In the original, it's understandable feeling suspicious about him, the way he acts and the shit that's going down around you. Here he's a bit weird, sure, but he seems like a nice person. Isaac is an asshole to him, giving a line that I love, but I don't know if this version of Kyne deserves it.
Do you read me? Mr. Clark! Mr. Clark, come in!
Fuck this ship.
You're alive. Altman beat me.
Fuck Altman too. Kendra?
Other than that small complaint about how Kyne has been changed, I will say there are some small moments that are kinda funny if you think about them.
The hive mind. Grab my hand!
What would grabbing your hand accomplish, Isaac? What would that do against a giant tentacle? I do have some other problems with the game though. For example, the game has wonderful pacing, except for one small section, injecting 8 Weezers. The section is not bad, but I feel injecting 8 of them is overdoing it a bit. I would have reduced it to 6. They give you 6 ways to reach these Weezers, but there are 8 of them. So why not just cut it down to 6 so you can reach one individually in a unique way? The second problem I have is that Kinesis sometimes decides to grab stuff that you toss to the side, even if it's off screen. It's something very small, it's basically a nitpick, but it can really screw you over if you're getting attacked by a lot of necromorphs and have run out of ammo.
Replace power cell to begin ignition sequence.
The last problem I have might be the biggest one, which is that necromorphs aren't as menacing as they were before. They still pose a threat, but I don't feel that they are as hard to deal with as they were in the original, because they usually are slower than before, instead of running at you as soon as they see you. Like, the times I've died during my playthroughs were because I was stupid rather than because I got overwhelmed by necromorphs. Ow. Okay, I didn't die. Well, okay, never mind. I thought I was dead. Never mind. The remake has a lot of love and effort put into it. They even went out of their way to keep small details and include stuff from the sequel that do wonders being here. I checked for small details like if the CC logo still turned green. They didn't, but I was shocked they didn't, considering the amount of detail that this remake has. I don't really know if I could call this video a review, but if I had to score the game, this is easily a 9 out of 10. This is one of the best experiences I had playing a game in the past few years. I never hit the New Game Plus button as fast as I did with this game. Dead Space Remake reminds me a lot of Resident Evil 2 Remake, but I feel this one is a tiny bit better. It might be my Dead Space bias speaking, sure, but if the RE2 Remake got nominated for Game of the Year, this better be too. EA Motive did a fantastic job bringing Dead Space to today's standards with flying colors. Please buy and play this game. I know EA probably already has all the money in the world, but sales do speak. A Dead Space 2 remake with as much love and attention to detail put into it as this remake and polishing the quirks I noticed would be amazing to see. Thank you all so much for checking out what was basically me talking about Dead Space Remake for a long time. I had more to say about it than I thought. I wanna thank you all for the support my first video got as well. I worked really hard on the iceberg and I thought it would get like 50 views at most, but it's almost at 50k views and I appreciate every single person that checked it out. And for those that decided to stick around, all 139 of you, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Next video is not Dead Space related, but I hope you will all enjoy it anyway. I'm also currently trying to organize a Left 4 Dead 2 tournament with lots of people, so look out for that in the future on both my Twitch and Twitter. Links down below. And once again, thank you all so much for watching and I'll see everyone on my next video.